So last time we saw a few aspects of the yoga of Ashwapati, what he had come here for, what he had done. Essentially, we saw that there were three main objectives in his taking birth here, coming down here as a delegate of eternity. The delegate of eternity is a phrase from Savitri itself. Delegate from eternity in plain language would mean he comes as an avatar. He comes here as an avatar. The avatar comes here for a specific purpose. Each avatar has a certain role to play in the process of manifestation. Ashwapati's coming here as an avatar is now to take the evolution from the mental level to the higher level, what you would call the Superman level, the supramental level, the manifestation of the supramental being. That is the purpose of his coming here. And the entire mission, his yogic activity, is connected with that particular aspect of taking the evolution forward from the mental state to the Superman state. Now, there are number of intermediary steps also, but those are matters of details. The essential thing is to take the evolution to the higher stage. In that context, we saw that he comes here, explores all the cosmic dimensions, the entire universal structure, so to say, and in the process, what he does is he leaves his presence everywhere in the cosmic manifestation. He comes as an avatar, he leaves his presence everywhere in the cosmic manifestation, which is very important, which is very significant, which is required in terms of his occult necessity. There is a certain occult necessity for that to happen, and that is what he does. The second thing which he does is, as we saw last time, he has created a new world in the transcendent. He has already established a new world in the transcendent by his yogic power, by his yogic tapasya. He has created a new world in the transcendent, in the house of the spirit, as Savitri would say. In the house of the spirit, he has created a new and marvelous creation. Now, that is not sufficient. Eventually, that new world must come down, precipitate itself upon earth. It is a prototypal creation. You can say it is a kind of a template. Unless it is present there, nothing can happen here. So if there has to be in the process of evolution a new stage after the mental being, first you have to establish something up there. And that is exactly what he does. He has created that new world. Now it is that which must come down here. So that is the second yogic realization, achievement of Ashwapati. The third one is, alright, the new world is there, but it is of no use, of no avail, of no consequence unless if it can be brought down here. And that can be brought down here not by him, but by the divine power, by the divine Shakti. It is she who has to bring it down upon the earth. Therefore, he approaches the Divine Mother, the creative, dynamic consciousness force, to take mortal birth and prepare the ground, do whatever is required towards that, do it here upon the earth and bring down that creation here. So that is the third yogic job, so to say, he has achieved as a part of the process of the supremacy manifestation. Now, what one would call it, this is the yoga of the Supreme Himself done in the earth consciousness. It is the will to be that has been formed up, has been established, has been made a part of the process here, the will to be. Now, the next part is the will to become. It is here, it has to become that. The will to become, that is a part of the job which Savitri has to do. Savitri's task is to establish now that new creation here in the earthly process, in the earthly manifestation, in the process of time. Now, as we saw last time, Savitri would come only when she is compelled to take the mortal birth. A worse desire compelled her mortal birth. And the compulsion was forced upon her by Ashwapati, by carrying the worst desire to the Supreme. She condescends to pass the portals of the birth, that is the death. She has to go to the process of death and do that work here. In other words, the first immediate task of Savitri is to conquer death. And that is exactly what we have right in the beginning of Savitri. It was the hour before the gods awake across the path of the divine event. The huge, foreboding mind of night, alone in her unlit temple, lay stretched while upon silence mass. So across the path of divine event, there is an obstacle standing. And it is that obstacle which has to be removed. That obstacle has to be removed by Savitri. Then only the divine event can progress, can go forward, can move on. And of course, the divine event simply means the supremacy manifestation here. That cannot happen unless the obstacle which is standing across the path, across his path, is removed, is destroyed, is changed, is abolished, is transformed. Those are matters of details, but that has to disappear first thing. And Savitri's task is to remove that obstacle first. Now, what is that obstacle? The line says very clearly, it is the mind of night. Across the path, the divine event, the huge folding mind of night. It is the mind of night which is lying across the path of the divine event. Now, it is that mind of night has to go away. Now, what is this mind of night? It is a charged phrase. It is a very powerful phrase. It is not the spirit of night. It is not the soul of night. It is not the being of night. It is the mind of night. It's very specific in its connotation and its implications. Now, we could perhaps understand this phrase, mind of night, by understanding what the mother has spoken of regarding the mind of light. She has spoken in the agenda in a number of places in the mind about the mind of light. Of course, Shevendra also has written fairly elaborately in great detail in his last set of 8 articles which he wrote in the bulletin from February 1949 till November 1950. In 8 issues of the bulletin, the supremacy manifestation and certain hints which are there available. There he defines what exactly the mind of light is. And the mother gives a very beautiful definition of this mind of light. Mind of light is the physical mind. Mind of the physical, not the physical mind. The physical mind, the mind of the very physical, which is open to receive the supremacy light. When the physical mind opens to supramental light, then you call it the mind of light. That is the definition of mind of light, basically. So the physical opening is the important thing for the process to begin of the transformation. Okay. Now, therefore, if you see now this definition of mind of light as the physical mind receiving the supramental light, we can say that the mind of night could be the physical mind receiving the inconscient light, receiving the power of the inconscience, holding the power of inconscience is what the mind of night would mean, you see. So therefore, it is inconscient which is present in the physical mind, it has to disappear. And unless that disappears, things cannot move forward, the event cannot progress. That is what it would mean. Now, the physical mind open or governed or formulated by the inconscience is the toughest obstacle in the whole process of evolution, in the whole process of transformation. The mother explains in one of her talks that mind of night was a necessity at one stage. It was necessary at one stage. But now today it has become an obstacle. It was necessary because it is that which could hold firmly something entering into the inconscience. Otherwise, whatever would enter into the inconscience would get lost into the void. Below the inconscious, the void. So it will be simply covered, swallowed up by the void itself. And in order to give a kind of firmness of what is being received, the mind of night was formulated as a necessary step in the whole process. Now it is that mind of night, it must change. It has to get transformed. It has to disappear. And it is this mind of night which is, we might say, symbolized by death. Here in Savitri. Savitri has to meet death, conquer death, remove the obstacle, and then move forward. And that is exactly her task. She comes here to conquer death. In other words, we can say that Savitri, in a certain sense, in a restricted sense, is the epic of the conquest of death. Conquest of death. But that is not sufficient. That does not really complete the whole process. The completion of the process comes a little later. So, Savitri's first task is conquest of death. Conquest of death by taking human birth, which is the most crucial thing. She has to experience death herself here, meet death face to face, and then conquer death. So that is the basis of the part 2 and part 3 of Savitri. See, basically, as I said, Savitri can be divided roughly into two parts. Part 1 is Ashwapati, part 2 and part 3 is Savitri. But they are integrally together. They cannot be disjointed also, you see. Now, part 2, let me give you statistics, some statistics. I think they are very interesting. You might be, see, Savitri consists of, Shivandu's epic Savitri consists of 12 books. And each book is divided into a number of cantos. And in each canto, there are at times more than one section. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that number of sections are there. So in all, there are 12 books, 49 cantos, and 159 sections in Savitri. This formula, this edition goes by sections, section 1, 2, 3 up to 159. So that is easy to also to remember, to locate this thing, that 159 sections are there. And each sentence is numbered in this edition of Savitri. Now, there are in book 1, you have 3,125 lines, which is a fairly large chunk of lines. In book 2, 7,000 lines. The book of Ashwapati's Yoga, 7,000 lines. Book 3, the book of the Divine Mother, roughly 1,500 lines. Then book 4, Savitri is taking birth, growing up as a child and launching herself in the quest of her lover. Book 4, that is 1,263 lines. Book 5, the book of love, when Satyavan and Savitri meet for the first time and decide to be united together. It has 796 lines. Book of love is the shortest one, a really, really short one, about 800 lines, you see. Book 6, Book of Fate, which is a central book in many respects, has 1,666 lines, which is also a very large number. Then book 7, the Book of Yoga, 3,172 lines. Savitri's Book of Yoga. Book 8, Book of Death, just 177 lines. It is said that it was not revised, it was not completed. But the mother says, how do you know that? Shivananda wanted to leave it as it is. He had written the first draft of that book in 1918 during the Arya period, and he sort of never revised it later on. And people who say that Savitri is incomplete because Book of Death was not completed. And the mother said, how do you say that? Perhaps he wanted to leave it as it was. And that's all, you see. Then book 9 and book 10 dealing with death and dialogues and things like that, they together constitute roughly 3,000 lines, you see. And then of course you have got the grand book, book 11, the Book of Everlasting Day, 1495, 1,500 lines. And the last book, Epilogue, 346 lines. So that is the kind of a distribution of lines in Savitri. It is very uneven, but it goes entirely by the trust areas in which things had to be got done. For instance, the Book of the Travel of the Worlds is the longest book. Book of Yoga, Savitri's Book of Yoga, is a sufficiently long book, and they are the crucial things in the whole thing. Now, what I would rather say is that Ashwapati's Yoga proper runs into roughly 11,000 lines. Ashwapati's Yoga. In contrast to Savitri's Yoga in Book 7, just 3,000 lines. There is a difference between the Yoga of Ashwapati and the Yoga of Savitri. By the way, when people say, oh, Book of Yoga, now immediately there is a tendency of saying that perhaps it is that which I have to follow. This is a book of yoga, so I must follow the book of yoga. My sadhana should be based on that. It is not so. It is the book of yoga of Savitri's yoga. It is not my yoga, your yoga, our yoga at all. It is Savitri's yoga. And Savitri's yoga is specific. The yoga context is very specific. And the context is to get whatever is necessary to be got to conquer death. Her objective is fixed, conquest of death. And it is for that purpose she is doing yoga. I don't think our concern is to conquer death in that sense. That job is mother's job, and she will do whatever is required to be done for us. Our job is to remain open to her and do our own individual yoga. So the book of yoga is a very specific. In fact, each yoga, Ashwapati's yoga, for instance, is not Savitri's yoga. Savitri's yoga is not Ashwapati's yoga. They are distinct yogas for a certain purpose. In the general parlance, we could say that Ashwapati's yoga is a spiritual yoga. Savitri's yoga is an occult yoga. Ashopati Yoga is a path of spiritual ascension, or what is called the Vedantic Yoga. Savitri Yoga is a path of going inward and from inward upward is the occult path, is tantric path. In fact, as early as 1912 or so, Shevendra writes in one of his letters to Motilal Roy in Chandranagar that a distinction has to be made between the Vedantic path and the occult path, the tantric path. Motilal Roy was essentially more inclined towards the tantric path, the occult path. And Shivandu said, no, our path is the Vedantic path or the spiritual growth. Now, one could also understand why he has said that in 1912, because by that time Shivandu and the mother had not met. The meeting took place 2 years afterwards. That was mother's doing, the occult. And he was saying to Motilal Rai, look, our path is the spiritual path. The tantric path, the occult path will be taken care of by the mother later on, you see. And you can also see how the mother was prepared for the occult path by her association with Thion and of course Madame Thion. On one occasion, Madame Thion told the mother, your body is a very special body. And she said that there are 12 pearls in her body. He speaks of 12 pearls in her body. And this is something very exceptional, very exceptional. In fact, later on, in 1949, when a decision had to be taken that one of them, the mother of Shivandu, had to leave to carry on the work further, the mother said, yes, I am ready to go. Shivandu immediately stopped her. No, you cannot go. If necessary, I will go. Your body is prepared, is a special body for carrying out the work of supramental descent and transformation. Your body is made specially for that kind of a purpose, and therefore you cannot go. You have to stay back, you see. Now this is the important thing. In other words, the 12 pearls, her body being special for the purpose of the physical transformation, these are all occult aspects of the whole process. And we have to recognize their importance also when the work is being done in that manner. So mother had to stay back and do the work because it is the aspect of the will to become in the physical, and she has to carry on that work, you see. Now, in fact, in Savitri, on a number of occasions, we have very specific kind of statements. She tells to Yama, to death, on one particular occasion, look, my body, the suns, the supramental sun are conscient in my body, in the physical self, that conscient. Her body was specially prepared and the suns were conscient in her body. I know why I have come, what for I have taken this birth, what I am supposed to do, that I am fully aware of it. She asserts to him, my body, the suns were conscient in my body. Let me see if I can get that line exactly.
My body, suns.
Suns. Yes, yeah, she says that. Yeah.
Is it the chakras?
Pardon? No, not chakra.
What is the suns?
In the physical cells. They are in the very physical, not just operating centers of activity. The very physical. There is a flame which burns in my body constantly in all the parts. It's not just chakra alone. Chakra is something more concrete, more definite, but the whole physical is lit with a flame. He is blazing with a flame all the while. See.